Welcome team, hi and welcome to our weekly live Q&A. My name's Dovedi. If you're joining me for the first time, I'm the founder of Premier Property and I'm an investor and developer over the last 30 years. And what we do every week is we answer questions from our Premier Property community, and normally they're from our Premier Property inner circle. So my students, mentees, working in property, really clever people, really smart, getting on with it in property. And what we're doing is we're extending this to our Premier Property community and to our YouTube channel. So if you're watching this on YouTube, well, welcome. And I'm going to jump into these questions right now. Now, I've got 4 questions there, very specific and very interesting questions actually. Questions about leases, questions about how you can structure JVs, questions around how you can buy properties with creative deals, and also questions about how you can create uplift. So as you can see, by now you're getting that there's a lot of varied questions. So I'm going to jump in to these questions and answer these questions right now. I haven't had a chance to have a read through them properly, but I'm just going to do this off the cuff, and let's see how we get on. Hopefully you're going to get a lot of value from this. So jumping in right now. So the first question that's been asked by Adam Wu, and his question is all around the lease changes that are happening for flats. Now, you may or may not be aware, it's very current. On the 7th of January 2021, Robert Jenrick, the Housing Secretary, he has made phenomenal changes that are now coming into play. And so what are these phenomenal changes? Well, I'm going to share these with you right now. So, one of the changes that he's making is that where they're actually removing the marriage value. Let me explain. So if let's just take a flat, for an example, a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom flat, or a 3-bedroom flat, whatever it is. Yeah, you get my point, right? So a unit. So you have a unit where the lease actually drops below 80 years. Now, when the lease drops below 80 years, typically that becomes a short lease. And, to actually extend that lease, you will have to speak to your freeholder. You'd have to sort of negotiate with that. And to be fair, a lot of people end up paying a lot of money where they don't even know that they can actually negotiate. It's a shocking world out there, isn't it, when it comes to property? However, you can negotiate. But now it's getting even better, because that marriage value, as it's called, you don't need to actually have to, really ask for that. The lease can be extended. There's a whole due diligence process that you need to go through. However, cut a long story short, what I'm saying is that figure of marriage value where you need to increase the lease is now changing. And the lease time frame is also changing. So whereas before, you could have typically a 50-year lease and you'd pay a marriage value figure, now what's being proposed is that marriage value figure does not need to be paid. And on top of this, you can extend your lease typically, and what we're hearing from the grapevine, is 999 years rather than just another 50 years. So a massive impact when it comes to leases. I'm sure you'll agree. Now, this is all very new and very current. Do let me know if you want me to share more about this information and more specifics around this. In fact, we could do a complete topic around this. Just let me know. And if you're watching this if you're hearing this on Clubhouse even, just raise your hand. Let me know if you'd like more information. If you're watching this on YouTube, then, just comment. You can comment here. Just comment here. And also, if you are watching this on Facebook for now, that's absolutely fine. Just let me know that you would like me to share that with you, and I will share even more in terms of what is happening in the lease structure for residential properties. Exciting times. And Adam, you kind of open up a massive topic there, which is, like what I say, 2021, extremely exciting. So ones to be watching out there for. Hopefully you got those tips there. Marriage values, and also the length of time that you can extend them by. Very, very current. So that is something to explore, Adam. More of an exploration there, answer there, because you had a bit of an exploration question. Hope that answers that one. So moving forward, I'm going to move on to the next question here. And the next question is all about how you actually structure your property purchases. Now, before I actually go into the question and answer it, if you're enjoying this and, feel free, and you're watching this on YouTube, then feel free to subscribe to our channel. It'll help you to make sure that you see the latest information that comes through, the latest videos that I'm sharing. And also, click on that bell icon. That's that notification, isn't it? So you get notified of new videos that are being uploaded, whether they are Q&As or whether they are projects where I'm walking around a project and sharing info with you so that you can do the same if you're not already doing it. So feel free to join us. Click on the bell icon, and subscribe to our channel. And I'd love to hear your comments, as I say, and that's brilliant. On Clubhouse, you can raise your hand, and if you're raising that, do connect with us. Just follow us, and I will be carrying on sharing information like this and much more. Enough said on that. Let's move forward and answer Alex Phillips' question. So Alex Philip, like I say, is part of our Premier Property community, and Alex is absolutely on it. So Alex is asking discussion with the accountant. So he's got a property with his brother, and also he's got a separate property with his wife, and he's asking questions around joint tenants, and a question around, so how do I check in with, should it be joint tenants? Just reading this question here, just stay with me. Joint tenants and tenants in common. So he's asking, how should these properties be structured? What should I be looking for? What is the situation with joint tenants and tenants in common? And what I'm getting here is, what is the clarification? So from an investor's perspective, there are two ways that you can structure your property. So joint tenants, there's a number of ways, but these are two of these ways, right? Joint tenants and tenants in common. Now, there are key differences with this, and there are differences in way how you would actually use this. So if you're like me, you're doing lots of joint ventures, then typically, we are looking at tenants in common. So what tenants in common means, that let's say you and I are joint venture partners, just for clarification. Then you own part of the property, I'll own part of the property, as it's a joint venture. And let's say, God forbid, someone passes away, or you want to, so someone passes away, basically, is usually the case that this is used in, then, you would be able to put forward, your advocate who takes on your business, and I would be able to do the same. So let's say we have a 50-50 share, for example, you will remain with a 50% share, and your advocate, as I'm calling it, would then remain with a 50% share, and the same would happen for myself. So that, in a nutshell, from an entrepreneur's perspective, is how tenants in common work. So when we're doing JVs with good individuals, but they don't happen to be like family or extremely close friends, family to be fair, right, spouse and so on, then the kind of JV that you really want to be doing is the one I've just shared with you, which is tenants in common. Now, with your partners, with your loved ones, with your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your partner, you get my point. Now, you can do joint tenants. Now, the thing with joint tenants is, if one party, let's say, for example, use a scenario of someone passing away. If somebody passed away, then even if we had a 50-50 share, then that whole 100% of the share goes to the other person. So there's a key difference there, isn't there? There's a key difference, yeah? So of course, that you'd use somewhere like in a husband and wife relationship. So if the husband passes away, which is usually the case, the wife usually lives longer, usually, right? So the husband passes away, and the whole property would then go to the wife, for example, just to explain this. Yeah. So I hope that explains, Alex, the difference is the joint tenants. How you've structured that with your brother and how you've structured it with your wife, so you have the clarity of what you've actually got there. Now, just to give you one more step there, with permission, you can always change that. Now, it depends on if you've got finance there as well. So it could get a little bit messy. However, you can clarify that and then take steps from there on. Hope that answers your question. And thanks for asking that deep question, because that's probably helped a lot of other people as well. So thank you very much, Alex. And we are going to jump on to the next question. And that is from Jason Joyce. So Jason Joyce is asking, one of our Premier Property Inner Circle members. And look, keep in mind, if you're liking these questions, feel free to ask them. I'm doing this on a weekly basis. Whether you're watching this on Clubhouse, if you've got questions, if you're listening to this on Clubhouse even, feel free to ask your questions, and we're going to marry this in every week into this. And if you're watching this in the Premier Property community, this is the first time we're actually doing it in the Premier Property community rather than just our Premier Property Inner Circle, which is a really close-knit community. Just wanted to open it up wider to you guys as well. Feel free to ask your questions, and what I'll do is each week we'll select questions and we will be answering them right here in this way. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you haven't already subscribed, you can subscribe. We'll leave that with you anytime you want. Feel free to join us. Now, Jason is asking, term tenants. By that, I mean, I obviously don't want to upset tenants, which is fair enough. And that have been there for many years by carrying out a standard by carrying out a full refurbishment. So, for example, is it even legal? Is it even legal to do this within the terms of the AST? What do you do yourself? I'm just thinking I could be making use of land banking in our house to raise the value of some of our properties to release equity for further buying, but I don't want to lose good tenants by carrying out work that could go on for months on end. I wasn't sure whether we would have to pay for them to stay in a hotel during that time or offer incentives, for example, or will they just be happy with the fact that they are getting the property updated and modernized? I would really be interested to know how you resolve this issue yourself. Thanks, Cam, says Jason. Well, Jason, within that question, you've got a number of questions there, a lot of thinking going on, pretty cool. So let's clarify these. So there's 3 specific ways that we do this at Premier Property. So first of all, in fact, just this week, we're having some valuations done for remortgages. And just to give you a specific example, so what we do when we have a valuation, we always have a inspection. We have regular inspections for properties anyway, but before a valuation, typically, before we decide to remortgage, we typically get a valuation done. Valuation. For the valuation, before we instruct the valuation, what I'm saying is we will actually go in and do an inspection, is what I'm sharing with you. So we start that at the beginning of the remortgage process. So, we went in there, did an inspection, property was fine, actually we were looked after, everything, there were people living there, the tenants are treating it like their home, they're happy. But when we went into the kitchen, we noticed that, the kitchen, where last year the windows were fine, the kitchen windows, were starting to slightly rot because they were wood frame windows. They were slightly starting to rot, and the door that we had on in the kitchen, which leads out onto the backyard, the garden, that also was, it was a wood door, and now it's starting to become a little bit stiff, and so on. So what we did there, and I'm answering your question, Jason, this is how we do it. So what we did there was offer to the tenants, look, let's put in some new double glazed windows for you in this area, because the rest of it is double glazed anyway, and let's change the door as well. Are you happy with that? And obviously, of course, the tenants are happy with that, right? You're updating the property, they've looked after it, you're updating it further. So we did that work, did the double glazing and so on with the tenants' permission. They were happy to let us in, so we did that. So now that is ready for the valuation, and that's going to uplift the property even more. Tenants are happy, brilliant, job done. So these are the kind of things the kind of uplift that we would do while tenants are there. So I hope this answers your question, Jason, and you're inspiring a lot of other people as well. So that's how we do that element. When it comes to full refurbishment, we don't tend to do first of all, we never really give a property to someone where it needs a full refurbishment. We'll always refurbish it and put it into good standard and then provide the property. But let's say you've got a property, as you say, with long-term tenants, over time, it's got a little bit tired and it needs some work on it and so on. What we tend to do is we tend to maintain the work, but we don't tend to do a large refurbishment on it. Now, if a property becomes to a standard where you have to change certain things, let's say you want to update the heating system or update the windows or give it a complete redecoration or whatever it is, right? That we normally do when the tenant vacates. So you will find, Jason, and everyone here listening, that your tenants will have a certain time frame of when they actually stay in the property. So our average is 3 years. So we've got tenants that have been staying there for, it's my thinking phase, by the way, just thinking. So the longest I can think of is 9 years. Valentine's been with us for 9 years. That's kind of the longest. Shortest, you get some tenants that will take on an AST, short hold tenancy, and then vacate after 6 months. For whatever reason, they find their own place, or they find they want to be nearer to another street, or whatever the reasons are. So that's the kind of the shortest and the longest. But typically, you can measure these things, right? Even if you're getting into property, you learn to measure these, and of course, hopefully, it's inspiring you to also be doing more. You can use these numbers. We find the average is actually 3 years. So what I'm saying here, Jason, is the second way that you can do this is just do the refurbishment and time it in between the tenancies. We don't tend to put tenants up in hotels. We wouldn't really do that refurbishment, in while the tenant is there, because you can understand there's someone living there. It becomes much more difficult, and it's not your home; it's someone else's home. And to honor them, obviously they're going to move stuff around. You're going to work around them, so it becomes difficult. Prices start going up. So for that reason, we do this, like I've just explained, in between the tenancies. The third way that we actually do this is when the work actually needs to be done now. So we've got two situations on the go right now where this is happening. So for example, I'll explain. One property, with the weather, where the weather's been bad out there, the roof, on a single story element of the roof, there's water ingress coming in. Now the roof was fine over summer, but just where we had the snow and the bad weather and so on, that's what's happened. So there's water ingress coming in. Now where the water ingress is coming to this, if you can imagine, a single story kitchen. You've got the roof, water's coming in, it's coming into the kitchen. It's also, sort of leaking over the boiler, which isn't very good, is it, right? So that's been happening. And that's also means that it's affected some of the decor in the kitchen. Some tiles have fallen off. You get my point there. The wall's getting a bit grotty, and no one's fault. It's just the fact that the roof needs fixing, right? So in that instance, what we've done is we've had to carry out, remedial action straight away. So in there, we've gone in and fixed that. So in there, what we've had to do is we've had to work around the tenants themselves. So it's the kitchen space. Of course, people want to cook, don't they? Right? They want to cook and they want to use that space. So we've really had to work around that. Now, that's cost a little bit extra, but then you know what? That's the way it is, right? Because the AST is there, the tenants are there, and it's much more cost effective, rather than asking them to leave and then come back, or putting them up in a hotel, or all of that kind of stuff. We just simply ask the contractors to work around them, and in that way, that has also been fixed. So there are 3 ways I've just shared with you on how you can do it. So, just to summarize, you can go in and actually, get things uplifted where there's smaller jobs and the tenants are really happy. Second way is to do full refurbs between tenancies. And the third way is where you've got to take that remedial action straight away and nip it in the bud, and that is having to work around the tenants in there. Keeping in mind that you're in a business and it's normal. There's going to be points, isn't there, when you have to adapt your business to work around your clients. And your clients are tenants, aren't they? Yeah. So hope that answered your question there, Jason. A lot of info there, a lot of tips there. Hope you're enjoying that. So, by the way, if you're watching this on Facebook, feel free to give us a little thumbs up or a little hi. I'd love to hear that you're here. And again, if you're watching this on, if you're hearing this on Clubhouse, then absolutely. Love to see you put a little thumbs up. Hear you put a little thumbs up there. That'd be brilliant. And of course, you can follow us, right? So I'll carry on sharing. You can see I can speak for England, can't I? But having said that, let's move on to the next question. And the next one is from Vio. So Vio is asking, how do you do creative strategies? So I'm going to jump in right now and share with you how you can do creative strategies. So Vio, if you don't know Vio is part of our Premier Property Inner Circle. He is a developer. He's a first-time developer, and the man is on it. Yes. And we've got a number of people that are on it. We've got Alex here saying, that's great. Thank you. You're welcome, Alex. Ivana's there as well, says, great points shared. Ellen is giving me starry faces and What does that mean? Stars and smiles and thumbs up. Thank you very much, Ellen. Much appreciated. If you're here, feel free to join in. I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, emojis, whatever it is. Let's do this together as we answer the fourth and final question today. And you watching this on YouTube, feel free to comment. And if you've got any questions, I'll do my best to answer them for you. Click on the bell icon and feel free to get the info every week. Nadia is here as well, says thanks for sharing. You're welcome, Nadia. Nadia, you've been on Clubhouse, you've been on Facebook, I'm sure you're on YouTube as well. Loving the fact that you're moving forward. Okay, Melody's here as well, so just want to say a few highs. There's quite a few people here, so that's okay. Right, okay, so fourth and final question of the day, and we're doing this weekly, and the question is all about negotiating. So Vio is asking, Cam, what are the best ways to negotiate the smallest deposit on an exchange and is it refundable? Question mark. And he's also saying any other creative strategies to make exchange and completion happen using the catch-up. Now, I'm not going to go into the catch-up time frame. That's something for another day. You might be curious what that is. Just stay with me. Feel free if you want to know about the catch-up time frame. Just ask what is the catch-up time frame, and at some point I will share with you if I get enough comments that you want to know about it. Okay. So how can you do that? How can you exchange with the least amount of money and so on? Okay, brilliant. Well, Vio, so in our experience, typically, the figure that is normally asked for is 10%. Now that is, normally the standard figure. But what we do at Premier Property is we tend to negotiate with the seller. Now this usually works when you're dealing with commercial agents, and it also works when you're dealing with individuals that are the owner-occupiers who are the decision makers. You want to be, if you can be, you want to be speaking with the decision maker. Hopefully you're following me here. Right, so you are speaking with a decision maker so that the decision can be made. And the question, really you want to ask is that really ask people. Most people are reasonable, right? So if you ask, look, you've got a 10% here, 10% normally on exchange. However, if I can give you market value, because I know Vio is going to have a massive uplift because he's developing the property. Where you can pay market value. So, these are things that we do. So we'll say to the seller, if we pay you market value, and sometimes even slightly more than market value. I mean, we just done a deal where it was up for £300,000, and the end value once we've developed this is 10 flats, 9 flats in a commercial. The end value is 1.5 million. So good margin, of course. So I offered, rather than the market value, I just was a little bit more generous. So I said, look, have a little bit more than the market value, provided we can have a 5% exchange. So there's two elements: exchange and completion. Exchange is where you have paid that deposit over its legally binding contract, and completion is when the property becomes yours and it's then registered at land registry. Just for clarification, so we paid 5% at exchange. And then we actually made a space in between the exchange and completion, and we delayed the time frame. Now, advantage of delaying the time frame means that you can get your head around things. You can get contractors in, you can get them to measure up, and all this kind of stuff with the permission of the seller. Very important, right? Very important that you get the contracts right. Otherwise, you'll be in breach of contracts. So you got to ask for permission, and that's all you need to do. Okay, let the solicitor know. They'll do that work for you. So my point is, there's a number of points here. We could speak about this all day. I love property, as clearly you love property, but we won't speak about it all day. I just want to ask the question. So you exchange and then you complete, and you can have a delay between that. You can pay 10%, or in my experience, we pay 5%. Or sometimes we'll pay somewhere in the middle of that, sometimes 7.5%. So you can negotiate your deposit. And your deposit isn't going to be £1. That's just, I don't know any other word for it. That's just nonsense. Yeah. No one's a fool. They want something, right? So 5% is brilliant, but it's really, really cost effective. Another way you can measure it, if you don't want to measure it as percentage, let's say it's a commercial property, you could work out what the rates payable are for an empty commercial property over that period where you're going to have the exchange to delayed completion. So for example, let's say that's 6 months. then you could say, you know what, I'm happy to pay you a deposit for that, up to that period, for that amount. So you can make it tangible. For a residential property, you could say, I'll pay you a deposit of 12 months council tax. So that deposit then goes over. Now there's a whole structure on how you pay the deposit and so on. That's a question and an answer for another day. But that's how you can extend these. Now, you've also asked about, well, how can you get that deposit back? Well, one of the great ways that you can actually do this between exchange and completion, which gives you a lot of clarity and a breath of fresh air, and everything just becomes so much easier. Trust me on this. And these two words are fabulous. And these are subject to. So you could make your exchange and delayed completion, pay a deposit, and the deposit will sit with the solicitors, which means that you can also add in this subject to. So it could be, for example, one example out of many, it could be subject to planning. So if you get the planning, you complete on the property. If you don't get the planning, because you put subject to, then you can get your deposit back, and that's absolutely fine because that has all been done right at the beginning. Now, if you're new to this, well, brilliant. Hopefully this is stretching your brain. And once it's stretched, hey, you might be new to property, but you're not new to life, are you? Let's be honest, right? And if you're an experienced investor, maybe I've reminded you, or maybe this is your next level. So Vio, thank you for asking that question. So that's how you can use exchange and delayed completion. Brilliant way of doing it. And I will see you same time, same place next week. It's Cam Dovedi at Premier Property, helping you to take your property investing to the next level in 3, in 2, in 1. See you later.